Hey there, blade fans. This old sword back with something new. Yeah, not a collection vid today, although I love doing those. This is something just in brand new from the design mind of Bastien Coves of Bastinelli knives. And look, it comes in this cool little seahorse case, as many of his knives do. His higher end knives, most of them are higher end. I would call them kind of a mid-tech knife, if that a term applies. He usually has them done by OEMs. In Italy, by Fox and Lion Steel. This one is unique, along with maybe one or two others that I'm aware of that are made in the USA. They are made in the US. And this time we know who's making it in the US. So I'm going to show you that in a minute, but let's get this little coffin open here. Notice it's got a lock and everything, and it does have a seal. I'm going to back out just a bit. I know you're not going to be overly impressed if you leave this video only seeing a box. Ooh, look at that pretty Kydex sheath. Well, this is the follow-up to the innocent push dagger. And guess what? This is the guilty. So, looks like the verdict is in. And you use this if you feel somebody is guilty and you are judge, jury, and executioner? I guess. Well, it comes supplied with the UltiClip. Of course, if you prefer DCC, you could swap it out. We've got plenty of grommets. You got two holes here where you could neck carry it, although it doesn't come with any provision for that. But, you know, piece of paracord would do. But if you do carry something around your neck, make sure you use a breakaway chain as part of the segment of the lanyard, because otherwise it can be used to choke you, you know. And I think that's 550 paracord, so that's 550 pounds before it breaks. Well, let's see what we've got inside the sheath. It is going to pull out fairly easily. I'd say it's just about right. And this sheath seems to be a little better than the ones coming out of Italy, if those are coming out of Italy. This is maybe a little more substantial. It's definitely holding the knife in. So if you did want to carry it, neck carry, I'm sure it would work for you without the knife dropping out. And why it's red on one side and black on the other, I don't know. He's done that with a few different of his blades. But with this being a push dagger, and it is a Wharncliffe style push dagger, or you could call it a sheep's foot. I think it's long enough to call it a Wharncliffe rather than a sheep's foot. The handle, which looks like G10, is not. It is Richlite. And that is, I believe, kind of a paper-based resin. I'm not sure. Here we can reveal the manufacturer, the OEM, Tactile. Tactile makes some pretty high quality knives in the US, a lot of folders. So for Bastinelli to have endorsed them to make their products is quite the statement. It is a Magnacut blade. There you have the proof. And we have a fuller going down there. These are generally held between the first and the middle finger and used in a punch and also a clawing type maneuver. And that's about it. Doesn't open, doesn't close. It is strictly what it is. It's a fixed blade with a stem. Now, a lot of people say, you know, this type of knife is really gimmicky and so on and so forth. But if you're like me, and with my advanced years, you have some compromises with the hand, hanging on to things is essential, especially if I had to use this as a get-off-me knife, as Tim Kell likes to call them. Small knives that you can use when you're in a pinch, you're down on the ground, and somebody's trying to do bad things to you. and works quite well for that purpose. This stem is nice and not too thick, not too thin. Therefore, it fits very comfortably between the fingers. An alternative would be to carry it or hold it down here. I just don't find that works well for me. It doesn't really, I mean, it does align it more with the center of the fist, but I don't feel the control and the strength that I have here. Okay, so it is pointy enough as a Wharncliffe style blade to definitely pierce about as easily almost as a double edge. We'll do a few measurements on it. There's not a whole lot to measure and not a whole lot to compare with standard fixed blades. If we go the full length of it, it's 4 3/4 from the tip to the butt, if you will, of the handle. Cutting edge is like a 2.3, let's call that, and 3.5 inches to the handle for the blade. Again, not too much we can do with that. Let's get some thicknesses, starting with the handle. It's pretty slender and it's nicely grooved. It's 1/2 inch, 0.51. And the stock thickness, pretty easy to measure here, is 0.12 or 3 millimeters. That was easy. The knife itself, very light. Very light. I think I've got battery issues with the scale here. Let's see if it'll work. 1.46 ounces, less than 1.5 ounces. If we put the sheath on, just for yahas, it is 2.66 ounces. So still extremely featherweight. So if you are looking, turn that scale off and save the battery. If you are looking for something easily accessible, can be tucked in the waistband, hung around the neck, even clipped inside the pocket. So better for right on this than left, but you can switch the clip to the other side or put the clip of your choice on. Ulti-clips are sometimes a little tight to clamp. I find this one's pretty smooth though. So you can see that gets pretty much a bare grip on whatever fabric you clip it on. I can't undo it. There we go. So for some people, ulti-clips are the way to go. How about some compares? I'm going to give you a compare right off the bat that'll kind of blow your mind. This is the eye stick by Tops. This is a monster push dagger. I think I won this in an auction on the Knife Junkie a few years ago when they first came out. And it was an auction to support another knife reviewer who was having some financial difficulties at the time, and I was happy to do it. But this, did we say this was 1.5 ounces? This thing is like the, I don't know, the knucks, the brass knucks, but it's not brass, of push daggers. Check this out. That is correct. What do we have here? Oh boy. I don't think I'm even in the right. 11 ounces, 11.62 ounces, folks. I mean, can we say it's coming up on a pound? I don't know. It's 16 ounces, 11.5 ounces. This is just overkill. It's over 1/4 inch thick. And I don't want to spend too much time on it, but it's just ridiculously big and heavy. But if you want something, you're a big person, and you want something to really drive through, that mass will certainly help that blade go in. But it ain't going to carry too comfortably for you. That is the eye stick, and we'll show you a comparison again. By no means is this Guilty push dagger flimsy, but look at the difference in stock. It is crazy. Let's go to something a little more sane. This, I believe, is called the Triangle. I'm going to get the name for you in a moment to be sure I'm correct. This is a collaboration between Steve Tirani, very well-known defensive tactics and Indonesian martial arts instructor. And this isn't really considered to be a push dagger by Mr. Tirani, but one moment. So it is the TCQ Triangle. And it's not considered to be a push dagger because it's more like a pistol grip. And I think he did that intentionally, Mr. Tirani did, because he didn't want it to be considered a push dagger, which I think if the handle went up here and you held it between your fingers, it might be considered to be that in some jurisdictions. This in itself is also a very heavy weight. I'm going to call it a push dagger, you know, but they set it up to be used this way, to be used that way, and I guess to be used this way. It's a little awkward, and I'm not sure if Tim Kell's still carrying them. He might, but this is the Tonto version, comes in several other blade configurations. But that's really all I have as push dagger examples. However, speaking of Tim Kell, here is the Nightshade Wharncliffe. This is a two-edge sharpened blade, but just for comparison, that this is one of the smallest fixed blades, conventional, with a ring, of course, that you might consider carrying. And would you want to carry this or would you want to carry this? I guess that's the question. This, of course, is going to carry longer, much longer, and this is going to carry much shorter and more compact. If this is in your waistband, riding on your belt or inside your waistband, it's not going to poke you in the ribs the way a knife with a long handle might, or even a bigger knife than this. But they're roughly the same cutting surface. So as a get-off-me knife, this is an excellent little knife. I really like this. Getting away from rings on straight-handled knives, you know, karambits are fine because of the alignment issues. Although this aligns pretty well. Tim did a great job with offsetting that ring, which is what you have to do. But without getting into that whole conversation, this is a beautiful little knife if you wanted a very small fixed blade comparable to the Guilty push dagger. Another comparison? How about Griptilian? Griptilian's definitely bigger, whether you consider it bigger open or closed. Well, actually, look at that. Same length. So you're gaining some blade length here for sure, but it's also, you know, more of a conventional EDC knife. The thing is, with a push dagger, depending upon how you hold it, so if we hold it like this, if we hold it like this, it is a fine little utility blade with a high grind, pretty high grind, and a thin enough stock where it's pretty slicey. And we're going to find out how slicey it is. Well, it's really slicey and pokey. Oh, man. That is crazy pokey. And question is, how does it cut? Pretty well. You got to get the draw going. Not the sliciest thing in the world, but put it on a strop once again, and also consider that unless you're EDCing it a lot for cutting, the edge with this sort of doesn't matter. You poke and rip, you know. But it's got the potential with the Magnacut, of course, and I'm not sure the HRC, but with the Magnacut and with a fairly high grind and with a fairly thin 3mm blade stock, that it will cut, as Mr. Mark Haida likes to say. Well, let me know what you think of the Guilty Push Dagger Magnacut, made by Tactile USA. Don't forget to give it a like and subscribe. I'll be back soon. Be well.